So I wanted to come on here and I wanted to go over how I was able to book 37 B2B appointments in 1 month cold calling. It's not easy. You do have to be dedicated and you have to be focused. But what I will say is that through repetition, it does get a lot easier as you go. If you don't know me, my name is D Jones Official on here, or you can call me Derek Jones, whatever you want to. I post sales content and as well as sometimes car content. I like both. I'm balancing between them right now, but I'm really enjoying sales because I'm seeing a lot of growth through there. So if you do want to see some more car content, just let me know. But if you're wondering what type of things I sell healthcare technology. So I sell healthcare software. I'm in SaaS, SaaS. And so when I booked these 37 appointments, I was a MDR/SDR, whatever you want to call it, same thing, which basically stands for Market or Sales Development Representative. So you're going to be doing outbound cold calling, and basically your job is to either get clients or it's supposed to get prospects to make an appointment. So you could pass it on to the account executives and they can get it taken care of to where they could possibly sell them our software, right? If it's a need, of course. So this is how I was able to book 37 appointments in 1 month, all right? So for the first step, you need to know who the prospects you want to call are in the first place. I know that there are some softwares out there to where they're a lot more beneficial for business to consumer calling, but it's not really beneficial to business. For me, I used heavily and relied on outreach and Salesforce, and as well as Google and LinkedIn. Those are the 4 things that I used to make sure and ensure that I was going to be A, talking to the right person, B, making sure I knew the business the best, and C, being able to know what I could leverage whenever I was going into these calls to make sure it's as familiar as possible to them. Because, in sales, every cold call is a disruption. So it's your job to alleviate any, I guess you could say, stressors that are going to come in. Every time I would go into one of these cold calls, and this wasn't my first month doing cold calling either. At this company, this is probably my 4th month into it, 4th, almost 5th month into it, where I had this success. And so after you know what things you need to look at to know who you're calling, you need to think to yourself, what do I need to say in order to grab their attention? What can I say or do in order to A, put myself in their shoes before you even talk to this person? This is what I did. I thought to myself, what could I say or do to put myself in their shoes that would get me to listen to me? All right. And one of the biggest things is that whenever you're cold calling, you're going to run into a lot of gatekeepers in B2B. And so you want to get the gatekeeper's name 1000%, like 100% of the time, because you can use just that name as reference for familiarity when you talk to the power whenever you move forward. And so if you're able to get into the phone with somebody, a lot of times I'll be like, hey, this is Derek. I was reaching out to speak to X prospect's name, first name only. I was just wondering, do you know if he's in by chance? And they're going to be like, I'm not 100% sure. What's this regarding? You're going to get that a lot. And when they say that, all you really have to say is, yeah, for sure. There was an email I had sent that I was needing to follow up on with him. We were talking back and forth last week. And it could be a little bit of a white lie, but they're gatekeepers. Obviously, they're not going to be in between. He should be familiar with us. What'd you say your name was again? And when you highlight it into that point, she's going to give you the name. And it's going to be like, okay, awesome, perfect. I'm sorry, I didn't even ask you, how's your day going so far? By the way. All right, how's your day going so far, by the way? The person in power is the one that's leading with the most questions. And so 30 seconds of a little banter really gain some easy rapport with the gatekeeper. And you learn a little bit about them. And when you do that, whenever you eventually get to the power, you can use their name as reference and say, oh my gosh, you just told me about this. I'm sorry, did that get you at a good time? I know that you're probably busy and stuff. Do you got like a minute? And so those are just some of the things that you can say that I was able to say to prospects if I didn't have any familiarity in the forefront. The next step is, what research did I do that went into this? So the research steps I took is I'd make sure that if what their business was or their title was on Salesforce and Outreach, if it matched up to what their business and title was on their LinkedIn or what it was on their website on Google, right? And so that's the next step I took. If they don't match up, it's your job to go in there and change it in the CRM to what they are. Because if you go in there and you cold call and you be like, yeah, I'm trying to speak to X prospect's name? I heard he was the director over there. And they'd be like, oh, no, he hasn't been the director in a minute. Who is this again? And you're just like, oh, crap, right? And so that's one thing that you can always do is just go to Google, look at the website they have one, or even their LinkedIn, and look at what title they really are, and make sure that it lines up. Because again, nothing's 100% in the CRM world. Now, what I will say is that if you are doing B2B and you don't have any reference point whatsoever, right? You obviously could still look at their website, right? You don't have a CRM to look off of, so it's kind of takes away the first problem that you have right there, and you can just go and see their title right there on their website or LinkedIn. Now for the fun stuff. How did I deal with gatekeepers? Well, first rule of sales is that the one that's asking the questions is the one that's in control. Okay, that's the first thing you got to realize. So if you're calling a gatekeeper, one of the easiest things that I always did that people are going to be like, why'd you say that, right? There's always these word tracks like, do you got 5 minutes now or should I call back later? All right, there's always one that you can do like that. But straight up, the only one you really got to say is just, hey, this is Derek. I was reaching out to XYZ, whatever his prospect's name is. Don't say the last name. I was wondering, do you know if he's in by chance? First question. You don't have to say who you're with, right? You're the gatekeeper. I mean, cool, you can always do the traditional way and say it. I never did, and still got me appointments, right? Still helped me generate pipeline. After that's done, that's essentially all you have to really say to a gatekeeper. Like 8 out of 9, 10 times, it's all about tonality, right? The first lesson into how to talk to people over the phone is it's all about tonality and pace. And just remember this, if you feel like the call is being rushed, it is you that's rushing the call. Like 10 times out of 10, I learned this a few years ago when I was first doing sales. It's a few years ago? I guess a couple years ago. 2021 is when I first doing cold calling like that. But if it does feel rushed, it is you that's rushing the call. Remember, you're in control. So if you're the one that's definitely asking the questions, bro, you're controlling the pace. Slow it down a little bit. That's how you control the gatekeeper. Those are some of the things that I did. Next is once I got to the power. What did I say once I got to the power? I would engage with familiarity with the gatekeeper, with their name, okay? I always learned the gatekeeper's name, and I always learned like one thing about them. But I also knew what their business was about. So whenever I would reach out to them, you can be like, hey, yeah, this is Derek. I was reaching out from Waystar. I was just talking to the person at the front desk, Sarah, I think her name was. She was telling me how she was doing this over there. But I was wondering, do you got a minute to speak? Just a minute. It's pretty quick. I was just trying to follow up on something with you. And 9 times out of 10 times, they're really not going to say no unless they're truly busy. Again, it's all about that tonality. It's how you enter the conversation with your tone. It is not about what you say. It's how you say it. I mean, obviously don't curse and stuff like that right off the bat if you don't know them, but it is 90% of how you say it, 10% of what you say. And so you have an email of reference that you can use to them. And if you don't have an email of reference to them, I mean, it's going to be hard to kind of leverage why you're reaching out to them, but it's always good to go in the reason I'm calling you, the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm doing that. Just using and having a reason as to why you're reaching out to them always gains a sense of purpose and urgency, not only for you, but for them as well, okay? So even when you're in a demo or even when you're trying to sell in person, the only reason we say this is because, the reason the cost for this is because we have to do, like, there's always a reason, okay? And so if you just say something without a reason, why are they going to listen to you, right? I'm just wasting my time. I have all these emails I got to get back to. I have all these spreadsheets I got to start typing now. I got all these calculations I got to start doing, right? What's the reason you're reaching out to me, okay? And so those are some of the ways I handled the power, okay? And I'll go over some word tracks here in a different video, but I hope you're gaining some value, and if you are so far, just hit that subscribe button. It means a lot, or hit the like button, or do both. I mean, both means a lot, of course, because I want to grow this channel. I want to help you guys make some money, because that's what we're all here to do. That's what sales is, right? It's about making money and helping other people, right? You need to do both. So going back into it. One of the best phrases that I used with the power is, I don't know if this will be any value to you, but. So that's another thing that you can say. I don't know if this will be any value to you, but we've been helping out XYZ companies with this, or we've been helping out XYZ. I believe they're like a few streets down away from you. Again, it's the research. How deep are you willing to go into research? This is what I did. I'm telling you right now. But they told us they were dealing with this. I don't know if this would be any value to you, but Then go into it again, right? There's all these different examples that you could use that for, and it's a killer phrase. Another one that I used is, when you go about your day-to-day, what metric are you trying to obtain this month or this quarter that is really grinding your gears or really taking a lot of time to make up right now? I'm curious, right? And the tonality right there at the end, like I'm curious, like I'm interested, I want to hear more. And so again, it's all about the tonality. That's what I did with the power. I used a few of those frameworks. There's a few more. I'll go over them in a different video, but that's what I did right there. Here are 2 common objections that you're definitely going to run into that I did for sure. The first one is, I'm not interested at the very beginning of the call, right? Everybody's heard this if you're doing calling right now. Look, man, I'm just not interested, right? And A, they could be busy. B, they could just say cold calling because they've been cold called like 40 times before you. But the best way to combat this, if they say I'm not interested and they're still on the phone, right? They still got that like little pause right there. It's just combating them with, yeah, I understand. Not interested in what, right? Now look, man, I told you I'm not interested. Yeah, for sure. I understand. Not interested in what exactly? Right? If you hit them back with not interested in what, this didn't work like 100% of the time. Don't think this is like a breakthrough for everybody that says that. But I'd say a good 40 to 60, like 40% of the time it would work to the people that hung on. But that's 40% of the people that you're dealing with that say that are gonna hang on and listen to you just because you combat with not interested in what? And they're gonna be like, well, not interested in whatever you're trying to sell. And then how you combat that back is, yeah, of course. I mean, I wouldn't be interested if I didn't know what somebody else was trying to sell either. But I honestly only have one question. It's super brief. If you got a quick second, I only got to ask that. And then value prop a question right there that will, make sense to them. And you can literally find a question just based on their niche, their specialty, right? Like, for example, if their specialty is, let's say their specialty is you're selling a website. A lot easier to go into. It's like, yeah, so the one question I just have for you is, I was going through your website and I noticed that you didn't have XYZ implemented in there. And the only reason I'm highlighting that is because on my website that I was able to show the XYZ competitor on the other side that could be near him, could be a little white lie, is once I implemented this and I showed him, I was able to get him 40% more conversion rates just from website clicks. And he was able to increase his revenue by X amount. I don't know if this will be any value to you, but if you got 5-10 minutes, I mean, it could either be today or next week. I'd be more than happy to show you how I was able to do that, free of charge, right? Free of charge, right? Always have some value in there that you can use to leverage. Next one, we're using for somebody that already, right? I know a lot of you in B2B have had a lot of people that have said, we are using that for somebody already, or we are using this already from somebody else, whatever it is, competitors, right? It's annoying. However, it's very easy to combat. It really is once you get the tonality down, but again, the repetition is the hard part. How many times are you willing to get rejected in order to get this finited? What you really could say to this is just, yeah, for sure. I'd hope so too. I know definitely having something in place is 100% easier. Out of curiosity, how long have you had them? Right? And be genuinely curious. Out of curiosity, how long have you had them? And they're going to tell you right there, just based on your tonality, like you're being genuinely curious, right? A lot of people get caught up in what they're saying. It's not about what you're saying. It is how you're saying it. How you raise your vocals, how you lower your vocals. Are you going to stay monotone? Are you going to stay emotional? Are you going to go up and down? It's all about tonality of how you say it. And that's an easy way that you could just combat it. And then you just go into leading more questions. Like you just saw it right there. We're already using it for somebody like that. Statement and with, yeah, and how long have you been using them? At the very end of after you said the first part, hit it back with a question, right? And the last part I want to get over this is how I was able to get them to accept the meeting invite over the phone. Because I've had a lot of people in my space ask me the same thing. And it's really kind of simple once you boil it down to, you need to act like you're doing something in the background and ask them, some white banner questions in the middle. But it's always good to have your calendar up already as you're already talking to them. I'm already going in assuming they're going to book a meeting. So I already have my outreach calendar pulled up, or your Google calendar pulled up, or whatever calendar you're going to use to pull it up. And then you're going to be like, gotcha. And you said your email was what again? Got you right there. Just got to put it in right there. And so one of the things that really worked is I would always go into the reason of the meeting was going to be in that Zoom invite that I would always send out. And I'd be like, and I always got to make sure, just to make sure that I'm going to send this out, right? We talked about how we were going to help you out, do X, Y, Z, and this. Does that sound about right? Yeah, I got you. All right, I'll put that right there in the email. I just want to make sure I got it right first. Cool. I got the email right there, and boom. Now we said it was for the 10th, right? Yep. All right, cool. And send. All right, gotcha. Can you make sure that you got it? All right, cool, perfect, awesome. And you're done, right? The last thing I'm gonna say is follow-up tasks. Follow-up tasks is the last thing that I did that really helped out. You got to be tenacious with follow-up, all right? You only had one interaction. They've never seen your face, right? So it's all over the phone. So you got to make sure that you are imprinted into their head that this meeting is coming up, especially if it's weeks out or if it's even a Friday. If you book this meeting on a Friday and it's on a Monday, 2 days in between of no contact with you, I'd sometimes do Saturday follow-up. I'm not going to lie to you, just because I want to put that realization, not by calling, but by email at least. And so you want to make sure that you're going to have tenacious follow-up. So like, let's say you book it on Friday and it's like Tuesday the next week. If you don't do any follow-up expecting them to remember that by Tuesday next week, dude, you literally just talk to them on the phone for like, it could have been 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or even 30 minutes, right? They're not going to remember you after 3 days of no contact. I don't remember conversations 3 days after no contact. I don't really think it's that important if they're not willing to follow up with me again on it, to be honest with you. So be tenacious with follow-up, email, phone call, especially if it's a weekend. If it's a day out, it's a little bit different, or like even 2 days out in the same week span, a little bit different, but still follow up. So if you got any gems or if you got any value out of this video, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I want us to grow. I want us to both make money, of course. And so if there's any gems that you got out of this video, if you're new to it, I want to be able to help you guys out because I know sales can be scary, but it really doesn't have to be, all right? And it's all down to repetition, discipline, and just learning tonality, right? Tonality is probably the first skill I would learn as a salesperson, just about going into interacting with people in that type of sense. The first skill I'd learn on the back end of a salesperson is organization, how to prioritize yourself. But you kind of learn that as you go. So I hope you gained some value. Again, if you did, hit that button. I love you. This is D Jones Official, Derek Jones. I'm out.